It's a great pleasure to have you join me again on a fresh edition of Law and You as we look at the topic for discuss today, which centers on the Electoral Act, tackling the Clause 84 amendment. You agree with me that this issue has been on the front burner, and back and forth the lawmakers, the National Assembly input really basically treated that issue to a point where the president had to refuse assent at the beginning, and then sent the bill to the National Assembly for a rework. And then the National Assembly did a rework and sent back to the president for assent. And then the president giving assent to the bill, but saying that Clause 84 should be deleted or expunged by the lawmakers. And discussing this very sensitive topic with me, looking at it from the perspective of the law, I have the custodian of the law, and he is Matthias Obayuwana, a legal practitioner. Good to have you join me, Matthias.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm your host, Philip Omo-Gupon, and we're looking at this whole issue concerning how we can put it to rest. But basically, the president came up with this aspect of the National Assembly demanding that it should be expunged, Clause 84, because it has to do with the political appointees at any level not being allowed to come in as voting delegates in any congresses or conventions by any political party for the purpose of being nominated as candidates in elections, and also not to be voted for. So what's your thoughts along this line, and the president giving this demand that the National Assembly should expunge this part of the clause from the law or from the act?
Yes, as it stands, the Electoral Act or bill has been signed to become an act of the National Assembly. And Section 84 is part of it, which the Mr. President has urged on the lawmakers to set up the process to amend such section by deleting it. Now, what does the section specify, like you rightly noted, that political office holders have to resign their position in government before they participate in the congresses, because it's at the congresses that they elect candidates to fly the flag of the various political parties. You know, so those candidates, the mischief, if you look at section 66 1F of the Constitution, is a similar provision that political office holders 30 days before the general election, they must resign their position. Otherwise, they could be disqualified. So now the mischief behind that section is to cut off the overbearing influence of the political office holders, you know, over the electorate, so that you don't use the preference of your office and the purpose of that office to influence the voters one way or the other. So for that reason, and then they also do not also create an even balance, an even level playing field for every other person in the contest, because one appears to have an edge over the other. So in order to have everybody at par, they say resign from your office, be like the every other person who are contesting, and let's plug it out, as a fair play. So that is what is there in the law, and that is what the lawmaker also intend. The ministry also try to cure that. If you're also coming for Congress, you're going to be elected as a candidate to fly the flag of the political party. There are persons who are also interested in that same office. If you are allowed to continue to hold the political office, you could also influence the electorate at the Congress, one way or the other. So 30 days or whatever before that Congress, you should also resign. You know, so now the argument from the Mr. President is, if you ask them to resign, you will be disenfranchising them. They will not have a room not to participate in the Congress, because the law says you cannot even be vote or be voted for. So expunge it. So for me, that would defeat the essence of the intention, the mission the lawmaker try to cure. If you allow him to remain, that is, they will continue to influence those who will be going for the congresses. Okay. And determine how they will vote one way or the other.
Okay. The president called it a defect, because it has to do with disenfranchising the political appointees. But At the point now where the president signed that into law and also leaving that aspect, the clause, to be expunged by the lawmakers, what happens if the lawmakers refuse to expunge that? Because he already signed it into law.
He has signed it into law. There was an understanding from what I gathered from the papers that Ahmed Lawal, the Senate president, they struck a call with the president to say, well, sign this bill. We may take a second look at this section 84. Because if you look at this section 84, it was the reason why Mr. President refused to assent. Why? Because they said they tailored how primaries will be conducted by political parties in a particular fashion. And they say, no, you cannot determine how we should conduct our primaries. It needs not be through direct primaries. It can be indirect, it can be through consensus, it can be whatever means that we choose, to apply to political parties. So don't pigeonhole us, don't constrain us to how we should get this thing done. Allow the freedom to decide to decide how we will get it done. And for that reason, he said he will not sign it, should go and amend it and remove the particular clause, which they did. Now they are sending it back to him. At the verge of signing, he discovered another one. Oh, you are going to disenfranchise my loyalists, my appointees. Also go and remove it. And yet there was this pressure from the civil societies and everybody saying, Mr. President, you must sign this electoral bill because time is running out. So the pressure was there. If he sends it back today, if he refuses to sign on the grounds, on that excuse that Section 24 is there, and you will disenfranchise, in his own words, political appointees, and for that reason I will not sign, he has fed the pulse of the people that they will not be happy with him. So he had no option to sign.
So it was like under pressure.
With the agreement that if I have signed this thing now.
So you meant to say that the president was under pressure to do that?
Well, if it may be under the pressure to do that, or with the fear or loyalty or commitment that he has for the people.
Okay.
Because we are the reason why they are there. So we have said we want the electoral bill to be signed, and pressures were mounting. People were already calling for agitation that he should sign it. So you have no other option but to sign it, but with the understanding that, well, after signing this thing, please people should go back and take a second look at it. So if they don't take any second look at it, that is the law as it stands today. And I don't agree with Mr. President that it will amount to disenfranchising the political appointees. It's up to them. It's their choice to make. You are be appointed into political office. They don't want you to be distracted, with other activities. Then they also want you to use that particular office to oppress others. If you want to contest election, come on a level playing field to do so. So the reason why that section is in the Constitution, to say you are contesting in the general election, come to a level playing field with other persons contesting from other political parties who may not be in government. So those within the same political party are also saying that if you also want to contest, the primaries in our party, also resign and come on a level playing field with others in the party who are not in the political office. So that's the mischief that they want to cure to prevent the external influence. So it does not amount to disenfranchisement.
Okay.
So it's up to them, up to political office holders to choose to resign or to remain in that office. If they want to contest the election, they resign and come and contest the election.
Okay, some believe that this aspect of the president signing this into law, it's like signing controversy into law, in the sense that, like you said, due to loyalty to the people, yes, Nigerians, you might have thought that twice to really sign it without delaying at this time, like he did the other time.
Very well.
But don't you think, as some have it, that by signing this into law, the National Assembly members refuse to expunge or delete that clause, that it will attract litigations in court? Because there seem to be a constitutional provisions that really seem to negate that which was done by the National Assembly.
I don't agree that Section 66, that's what they are relying on. Section 66(1)(f) does not negate. Section 66(1)(f) that you will be qualified to contest election, into the House of Rep or Senate, if you resign, if you are a political office holder, you resign from your office 30 days before the election. So if you continue to hold that office 30 days before the election, you are not qualified to contest election in the general election. This one is out to do with the primaries. The argument is that the Constitution appears to give you room, power to contest, the freedom and liberty to contest any election at all.
Okay.
Provided it's 30 days before the general election. No, they must get the distinction. The general election and the primaries are different. We must win the ticket of your party to qualify you to contest in that general election. So 661F is addressing the general election, while the Electoral Act Section 84 is addressing the primaries. And people are saying that the same mischief, the same reason why that thing is there in the Constitution is why they are bringing them in the Electoral Act. If they don't want to come and influence the voters, they want to use your office to oppress others, they want to be on the same level playing field with other candidates in the election. That's the reason why they put that section there. They also put in the Electoral Act to say you to also contest to become a candidate in our party, also come on a level playing field. You cannot be a commissioner and I'm an honorary member of the party and I'm vying for the same office. Then you now come to my constituency and use your commissioner paraphernalia of your office to get members to vote one way or the other. You have all the things that you can make to ginger the people to vote for you one way or the other as against me. We are saying no. Come on the same field.
Okay.
Let us test our popularity without the persecution of any office that you are holding at the moment. So it does not disadvantage anyone.
Okay, you just said that it doesn't because you said it based on the perspective that you are looking at it from the angle of the law.
It does not.
But again, we have these technicalities. I don't know how you call it in the law court, you know, because this basically, if not expunged by the lawmakers, we go to court. There's this possibility that your legal
they
also have a point. We also have another technicality. So what do you rely on in making justice served?
It's often said that the law is an ass, and it depends on whichever argument, because there's only two sides to an argument. I propose my point on this grounds that it does not negate it. The other person may also continue to insist. The Constitution is the ground norm. Section 1(3) of the Constitution provides, the supremacy clause of the Constitution provides that if should there be any law that runs counter to the letters and spirit of the Constitution,
okay,
that's at variance with it, that law should be struck down. So it is what the court, if I thought they want to go and test that section before the court, to go and test, does Section 84 of the Electoral Act run counter to Section 66 1F of the Constitution? If it does, strike it down. If it does not, allow it to stay. And my own argument, my own view, that it does not run counter to it, because they are targeting the same thing. Because the election that they are targeting, they are different elections.
Okay, one is primaries
to make you a candidate to come and contest. Yeah. The other one is you are not already a candidate to contest for a particular office that is recognized by law. These are the two issues, and then the two have a mischief behind the making of that law. Wow. And the mischief is to create a level playing field. So they are saying that you must enjoy a level playing field for the general election. The one is sent to be brought into the primary election to also have a level playing field, so that you don't use your office to oppress those who are not already in office who want to control for the same position. Okay. So it does not. It's in fact, it's in harmony with 66(1)(f) of the Constitution. I'm not against it. That's my take on it.
In case you're just joining us, it's Law and You, and the topic for today is on the Electoral Act, looking at the aspect of tackling Clause 84 amendment. And I've been speaking with Matthias Obayuwana, a legal practitioner. Well, let's look at this aspect concerning the organs of government. Now, we have the judiciary, we have the legislature. Oh, let's start. We have the legislature, we have the executive, and we have the judiciary. Now, yes, on paper, it's assumed that these organs are equal. But in practice, will you say they are?
Well, in practice, they are not equal. The reason why they are not equal is that first, the executive, they are always in the harrow head. They are those who discharge the executive function, and so we hear more of them than the other two, legislature and judiciary. We hear more of the executive. And secondly, the Constitution provides for financial autonomy for the judiciary. Okay. And then some of the House of Assembly in the legislative, some of them are also tied to the apron string of the same executive. Okay. So now the financial autonomy that is being created by the Constitution appear not to have, gotten down well with the executive. Because often than not, when money is being voted for the judiciary, they still go to the executive to dispense the fund. They expect the executive to also come and execute those projects that the judiciary wants to be executed. So often not, you see them only looking up to the executive for survival.
Okay.
And for that reason, it will not appear as if they are not at par anymore. Otherwise, they are at par. They are supposed to check the order. That's what makes it important for the National Assembly now, to have passed a bill recently, to have voted. Yeah. The bill is still in the process of passage. To have voted in favor of financial autonomy for the legislature and for the judiciary, and which they are expecting the two-thirds majority from the states, to allow it to say true. Okay. So if that says true and the judiciary becomes truly independent, then they will be truly at par with the executive.
I said that to ask this question because we have the executive at one end, we have the legislature on the other end, and we have the judiciary to interpret all of this in a way that it will bring about a balance.
Yes.
Now, with this aspect of the controversies being set up over this clause 84 that may go to court if the lawmakers do not expunge it, and with the aspect that there was a debate earlier where when the lawmakers went for the Christmas and New Year holidays, we expected that when they were coming back, they will be coming back with fire and brimstone, but that didn't happen. And the sky didn't fall. Now, do you see an undue influence of the executive on the National Assembly that is making them like an apron string to the executive under the 9th National Assembly?
Well, it has always been so. We all know the process that the Senate President went through in becoming Senate President. So they always parley. They always find a way of harmonizing their position, their interest. Because politics is a game of interest. Permanent friends, permanent enemies, permanent interest. So at every point in time, the interests of those at the ends of affair in the legislature, they will not want to ruffle feathers with that of the executive. So they find a way of harmonizing. I won't be surprised, even though, like I said, they have struck this accord, this understanding, okay, where we will look at this section and we will amend and expunge it, directed by Mr. President. They may likely do so.
They may likely do so.
They may likely do so.
So that may be an expectation.
Exactly. So they accept that they don't play the ball well. You know how they play the ball. They say they don't play the ball well. So if they don't play the ball well, some members say, look, for that reason we are going on strike. We are not going to work along this line.
Well, how do they play the ball?
They know how they parley. They call it lobbying.
Okay.
They call it lobbying.
Lobbying in the sense, in the positive sense.
Whatever way they are doing their lobbying. So the lobbying is whatever way to gain the position that they want to secure. Okay. Particular interest that the executive want to achieve in government, they always lobby the legislature. They lobby them with everything in the early arsenal at their disposal to ensure that which they desire, they get it. So more often than not, you now find the legislature, rather than going back to the constituents to find out how they should vote on a particular issue, to find out the position taken by their constituent, they don't often do so. By the time they are voted into the House, Mr. Governor or Mr. President wanted to do things a particular way. By the time the lobbying goes through the way they want it, and then the thing is passed. That's why you find a strong whereby in this country, particularly in this state, where the State House of Assembly voted against their own autonomy. This is a second chance they are giving to them now. So let us also watch and see whether they will again vote against their own autonomy. Why are they doing so? The constituent did they ask to go and vote against your autonomy? Did you consult with them before taking that position? No. But some other person from behind has told you how they want it to be, and the lobbying went through to your expectation, and then you voted the same way and you went home to and you could find your sleep. Okay. So it has happened before. It may happen again if the civil society and every other one who are the watchers of democracy, who are to participate actively. There's a provision of the law, for popular participation in governance. So every Nigerian, beyond those periodic elections, we are all interested in how the government is running. So we should hold our representative accountable at every point in time to ensure that the right thing is done, and just so that they will not keep going hook and sinker according to the lobbying power of the executive.
All right, thank you so much. On the final note, we have this playing out. We don't know what the outcome will be, if the lawmakers will expunge or if they won't. So what's your nudge, or what are your nudges? What's your advice, to the lawmakers in this respect?
Well, I will expect them to follow their conscience. They have a reason for putting that clause there. And, when you interpret the law, you look at the mischief behind it. Why did you bring that clause? What do you intend to achieve by bringing it in? The only area I may fault, they say they cannot even vote. You can't. Their right to vote should not be taken away.
Oh.
They may not be voted for.
Okay, their right to vote.
Yes, because in that
delegates.
Yes, they say they cannot vote. Neither can they be voted for. It's actually went to the extreme, because if you say they cannot vote, you are actually disenfranchising them.
Yes.
But you can rather say they cannot be voted for. If you want to be voted for, you must resign.
So you see that
you must resign.
as a mischief.
So they went to the extreme, so they can tinker with that a little to remove that power, to vote. They can be given the power to vote. They can vote, but as far to be voted for, I am strongly in support of that clause. Resign from your position and come on a level playing field.
30 days to the election.
Yes.
Okay, but that again is going to affect the activities of INEC in setting election dates.
The political parties should try to work their program,
yes,
and the activities in line with the constitution, with timing, to ensure that within that same period they are able to conduct their primaries.
Okay, big thanks, Matthias Obayuwana.
Thank you, Philip.
That's the much we can take on today's edition of Law and You. Well, we do this on the next one. Goodbye.